Does your motivation sometimes run away from you and making you feel like you have nothing to give anymore? Or do you sometimes think that how can others make it, whereas it feels super challenging for you to keep going? I totally relate to you because it does happen to me that I have to actually remind myself so many often to not fall again into the wagon of desperation. It seems to be hard, but in fact it comes down to just a few elements for each and every single one of us to implement in order to make it easier. So in this episode 15, I'm going to share with you 5 principles to help you reignite your motivation when needed and keep it as high as possible so you can always be in action into your business and making sure that you are creating the best results that you are wanting. So stay tuned. Hey, Thierry Alexander here from thierryvalexander.com. I help entrepreneurs and network marketers create faster results while reducing stress. So if you're new here, consider to subscribe because each and every week I do come up with a new video and a free resource to empower you in your own way. Let's talk a little bit more about motivation. First and foremost, who loses it? Well, in fact, every single one of us have sometimes, some days, some weeks where we are actually feeling very low on energy, we're feeling not so motivated, not so driven to do what we have to do in order to create the results that we want to create. And this is a human nature, it's totally normal. And the reason behind it most of the time it's because we don't see the result as fast as we expected. Because as human beings, we tend to underestimate what we can do in a long term, but overestimate what we can do in the short term. So it can become a little bit demotivating to not see the results that we want to create as fast as we expected, which is totally normal. And thus that creates, of course, limiting beliefs, or the limiting beliefs that we are projecting on ourselves or creating blockages, and we are then procrastinating on what we have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. It then basically creates more delay into the creation that we are wanting to do. Let's dive in the 5 elements that will help you get your motivation back even in the darkest moments. First, comparison. We tend to compare ourselves to everybody. We tend to compare our success to someone else's success. We tend to compare our chapter to someone else's chapter, which most of the time is going to be totally different. The place where you are at right now is for a reason, and it's probably for a different reason to somebody else's. It is also very self-destructive to compare ourselves to others because each and every single one of us have a particular journey, a different story as well, which is very individual, and we don't know all the details behind that story. So for example, if someone who hasn't got any children at all and compare themselves to a couple who has 5 children but are already successful, or vice versa, then obviously the results are going to be different, and especially what is happening in between where they were and where they're at right now. The journey in between is definitely going to differ from one person with one situation, one story to another, right? So very important not to compare yourself to anybody else. And another reason why it is important not to compare ourselves to other people, it's because we always only see the end results, the success, the light, the outcome that we are desiring, you know. But the matter of fact is we never acknowledge also the work that probably it took to that person to get from where they were to where they finally arrived. And that is very important. But again, that journey in between is going to be different from one individual to another. And overnight success is not something that exists. There's no such thing as overnight success, except in the Wonder Woman movie with Julia Roberts, but that is an exception and it's a movie, right? I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's very rare. Most people like you and I have to put the work in between to get from where we are to where we want to be, and having to go through hurdles, blockages, block roads, and all that stuff that we have to overcome ourselves through personal development, trainings, understanding, learning, etc. So remember that where you are right now is where you are supposed to be, and this place where you are today is where it's going to make sense to get to where you are going. Second point, look and search internally for your motivation. Have you ever heard of the shiny object syndrome? This is something I used to be suffering from for many years, and sometimes I have to actually catch myself out of it, not to fall into this, oh, this is now the next thing, and this is now the next thing. This shiny object syndrome basically means to always jump from one thing to another without even sometimes finishing that initial thing that we got in. So, for example, not finishing a book and going into reading a new book already. Buying a course. I was the expert of buying courses all the time and not finishing them. Or I was finishing them, but not in one go. I was always getting a new one started before finishing the previous one, and realizing that actually by finishing the previous one, I would have all the understanding and knowledge that I needed. Or business opportunities, or this business opportunity is not giving me what I want right now, so I'm gonna jump on a new one, and probably everything is gonna happen, everything is going to be marvelous, and 6 months down the line, we're actually realizing that another shiny object is coming our way, and so why not jumping on it, right? But being onto this shiny object syndrome really creates a slow motion in terms of your progress and what you can achieve in a certain period of time, because obviously not going through everything that the courses, the book, the learning that you are engaging yourself in is providing you or will provide you towards the end of it, then if you don't go through all that, you're going to miss the point every single time. But most importantly, what I mean also by the whole thing of not jumping onto the next shiny object is that those shiny objects tends to motivate us for a period of time, for, you know, few days, few weeks, few months, maybe a year or two, and then we realize that actually there's something else that's going to bring that energy again, and that energy again, and we're gonna get again a new thing to bring that spark within. In fact, the spark within needs to be triggered by something much deeper. And that is by unpeeling the onion of the reason why you are doing what you're doing. This is what is going to get you to the core of your self-motivation. Once you realize the reason why you're doing what you're doing, then your motivation will be you'll be able to connect to your core motivation at any given time. In the morning when you wake up, at night when you go to bed, just visualize that core motivation, why you're doing what you're doing, and you will always be in this unshakable motivation forever. Let's dive into the third point, which is taking responsibility. A lot of people these days are not taking responsibility for their success or non-success, what they have or what they don't have, what they achieve or what they don't achieve, their happiness or their sadness. And it is really important to take full responsibility for what happens to us, because life actually doesn't happen to us, but it happens for us. We are the vehicle of what life is giving us. We are within the vehicle. We decide on how we manage this vehicle, which is called body and mind, to create the physical reality that we are living in. And most of the time, the reason why we don't feel the self-motivation within, it's because we actually don't know where we are heading, because it's fuzzy, it's foggy, and it's really unclear in our minds of what we have to do next, because we haven't got an actual plan of action and we haven't taken responsibility to really get to know what it is that we want to realize, create, and take action on to make that appear in our physical world. So when you are experiencing this type of foggy, fuzzy, unclear mind, then maybe just reflect a little bit on that. And this is what I do when I'm really unclear and I don't know what's going on, I feel a little bit low, then I take a step back, even if it has to be 1, 2, or 3 times a day, taking a step back, reflecting, and basically getting to know what goals I am working on and the steps that I've got to take towards that. Immediately, it's actually reigniting the energy within, because when I am clear of what is it that I'm working towards, what is the purpose behind it, who is it that I'm serving, then automatically I know exactly what is the next step to take. And that is essentially what is going to happen to you if you are doing the same thing. You're feeling down, you're feeling unclear, you're feeling foggy, step back, even have a power nap, take a shower. My ideas tend to arise when I'm taking a shower somehow, so that could be a tip to take away. And as soon as you've got those ideas, just stay in there, get out of the shower, and then take action immediately, so you don't lose track and you don't go back into this demotivation or motivation losses. The fourth point is goals and vision. Crucial to have goals in place and have a vision, which are slightly different. I used to get confused about having goals and a vision. I really thought that it was the same, and I've actually realized through learning and through personal development and understanding that both goals and vision are actually totally different. Goals are something that we are setting for mostly the short period of time, or with a deadline, even if it's for the long run. It is something that we set with a deadline. It's something that is making us be driven by having a deadline that we have to finish those tasks, and that goal needs to be achieved by that date. Whereas a vision is something that is for the eternity. It's something that will last forever. So let me give you an example here. Goals could be the amount of money that you want to get in your bank account at the end of the month, the rank that you want to achieve within your company, the amount or the number of enrollment that you want to create within your team, within your business, the amount and the number of clients you want to acquire, the amount of sales that you want to create within your business. These are types of goals that you can set yourself with. For example, the type of vision that you could have though is writing a book. That could be a goal as well, but book writing, and that could be an ongoing thing, writing books for the rest of your life. So you see, there's no limitation here. There's no deadline. I mean, of course, in the process of writing a book, you might set a goal to have that book being written by then, but wanting to write books for the rest of your life, it might be a vision that you have for yourself. Wanting to speak on stage might be a vision. What country do you want to live in, or what experiences you want to have in life? Build a charity could be also a vision. It could be something, you see, so it's something that will remain, and then once it's there, you really keep on doing it and going through it. It is something that you put in motion, which then becomes part of your life, and that doesn't really necessarily require a deadline. The process of creating each steps within the vision might require a deadline, but you can have an overall vision, which is, that's what my life is going to look like. This is what's going to be part of my life. It's just not a one-off thing. This is going to be for the ongoing time that I'm going to be on this earth. Basically, goals are really good to motivate you for the short, medium, and long term, but vision are exceptional to keep you motivated for eternity, right? And that is a beautiful thing, and I'll repeat this. Goals are great to motivate you for short, medium, and long run, but vision carries you for eternity. Beautiful. For goals, you can ask yourself, what is it that I want to create? Or what is it that I want to launch? The type of questions you could ask yourself to create your visions are, what type of impact do I want to leave on this earth? Or if money and time were not an issue, what would you be doing? What would you be creating? That's always a question which really creates a dynamic in the brain that is opening up, you know, all the possibilities and what we would really love to actually do, create, be, and have. The fifth and final point is about accountability. This is the fifth principle, which is going to help you have your self-motivation always be present at any given time. If you have an accountability system in place, that is going to really support you to be in action, to be self-motivated, to do what you have to do, to go through the tasks that you've set yourself to go through, and to essentially create the things that you said you were going to create because you've got someone that you are accountable to. Who can your accountability partner be? That can be in many forms. The person you're actually accountable to doesn't have to be aware of the fact that you are taking them as accountability partner. For example, you as my audience for my first few weeks when I started didn't mention at all that you guys were my accountability partner, but you were my best, and you still is my best accountability partner audience, because I've set myself that every week I am coming to connect with you, provide you the content on the back of this blog post, and provide you also with a free resource each and every week. So at the beginning, my audience, so you were not aware of that setting that I applied for myself, but then eventually I did announce officially and openly to you all that I was getting you as my accountability partners. So what that created is an awareness that you knew that no matter what, I would turn up and you are my accountability partners. So if I was not turning up, I would basically let you down. And that is definitely something that I don't want to do. And as human beings, we don't want to let anybody else down, right? So it really creates a strong dynamic foundation to keep you accountable, to keep you on your toes, to be present, to be doing what you told yourself to be doing, and to be reliable as well. Accountability partners can come in other forms, such as friends, such as colleagues, business partners. It can be a coach. Coaches themselves tend to have a coach to keep themselves accountable. So you see, even coaches have a coach to actually help themselves to do what they told themselves to do, so they can take their skills and their level of leadership to another level. We are basically all in the same bag, and we're taking one another up the ladder by basically having someone that knows more than we do. I always want to hang out with people that know more than I do, because it helps me develop and increase and expand my mind in terms of knowledge, and then I can take that knowledge and pass it on to you. Accountability partner can be your wife, your husband, your partner, your children, your team, your anyone, anything that you can think of, any human beings, whether they are aware or not that they are your accountability partner. You can create this dynamic. But again, if you make them aware that they are your accountability partner and they have to expect you to do something, to be present, to be connecting, or do the do of whatever you set yourself to be doing, it's going to really increase the chances for you to actually be in action and create the results that you are expressing to your people. In conclusion, for self-motivation, we've covered the 5 principles, elements that are creating the self-motivation from within without having to necessarily need the external elements, although that can help, as we've covered. But the 5 principles are the following. First and foremost, avoid the comparative disease. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because your chapter is not the same as somebody else's chapter. And that is going to definitely demotivate you if you compare yourself to someone who already achieved or is where you want to be without knowing the ins and outs of their story. Second point, search your self-motivation from within. Avoid the shiny object syndrome, which is jumping from one course to another, from one book to another, from one business to another. Make sure that you are connected to the core reason why you are doing what you're doing. The third principle is to take full responsibility for what happens to us and for us, and the actions that we have to take in order to create the outcome that we want to create. Only you are in control of your own reality. Only you. The fourth principle is to set goals for yourself and to know your vision, which are slightly different, as we said. Goals are great for short, medium, and long run, but vision is going to carry you for eternity, right? And the fifth and last principle to elevate your self-motivation from within is to have an indirect or direct accountability system in place. So that accountability system, yes, will be something external. Your audience will be external. The person you're going to be accountable, take as an accountability partner is going to be external from you, but since they don't need to be aware of being your accountability partner, it's just going to be a decision that you're making from within, that you're accountable to that person these people, that audience, whoever it is. It is a decision at the end of the day that you're taking from within. So these are the 5 principles to re-elevate your self-motivation. And remember, I've got your back. Every single week I do come up with a free resource, and this week, because we're talking about how to get your motivation back, I did create a free resource, which is the Business Presence Fundamentals Guide. In this guide, you're going to find 8 elements you need to attract more clients to yourself that you can ever handle, anywhere, anytime. That is a great tool to use, because in terms of motivation, you'll see in this element the few key points that you have to also be aware of in order to create a business which is sustainable. And again, these are principles that no matter what techniques, strategies, or formulas are happening in the new trends, these elements are going to be very useful and going to be in alignment on remaining motivated within your business as well, so you know exactly what to do. Did you get value out of this training? I truly hope that you did, because I put my heart and energy into creating content for you guys on a weekly basis. And if you did get value, then, as you know, smash the share button, send it to your people, to your fellow entrepreneurs, to your fellow network marketers, or whoever wants to be an entrepreneur or has an interest in personal development. If you're new on my YouTube channel, then you will find the link in the description section that is going to take you over to my blog post, and within that, below that video, you will see the big yellow button where you can download the freebie that I've mentioned. Thank you for plugging in, thank you for tuning in, and see you on the next episode.